Kevin, where's the intro?
And we are back here once again, everyone. And believe it or not, I can't believe that we are here to review the penultimate episode of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is episode 5, Truth. And as always, though, before we do get into it, a lot did go down in this episode. This was the longest episode of the show so far, so we do have quite a bit to discuss here for sure. But before we do get into it, I do, of course, have to introduce my co-host here, who for some reason did not see the intro pop up on the screen, even though it just played. Here he is, FilmFan0599.
Must have lagged on like my portion, but it's okay. Anyway, hey,
that was really funny. You're like, "Where's the intro?" And I'm like, "It's playing."
Yeah, because yeah. Oh man. But anyways, hey, what's up, you guys? FilmFan0599 here again, and we're here to talk about the latest episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. For the very first time, I believe, in any of these reviews, I'm actually wearing a short shirt in for the occasion. So
yes,
I'm not wearing a band shirt for the 1000th time, But anyways, I am very excited.
Damn, I feel like I need to dress for the occasion now. For the finale, I will wear a Marvel shirt. Mark this down. Remind me, 99. I will wear a Marvel shirt for the finale.
All right, I will.
I have like 5 of them, so like I'm bound to find one.
All right, I'll hold you to it, anyways. But yeah, right. I'm very excited to talk about this episode. There is a lot that did go down in this week's episode, so yeah, I believe we should just jump right into it.
Yeah, so, I mean, going into this episode, I think this was easily the most excited I've been for Falcon and Winter Soldier pretty much the entire show. I would say the entire show, I've gone in with very little expectations because even though I might have enjoyed the episode, I always kind of had the fear that it, wasn't going to live up to the hype. And especially after episode 3, I was very worried with how the show was going to go. But I went into this episode actually really excited how it was going to turn out. And I will say for me, I really did like this episode. I think there was a lot of very strong moments, but I do still very much believe that this show should absolutely not have been 6 episodes because things are feeling very overstuffed here. It is really starting to feel like we're kind of like in a race to the finish to get to that finale. And I'm just not sure if some of, not all, some of what I want to deliver is going to deliver in the way that I really wanted to. But I still thought this was a really strong episode for sure. But what did you think of this episode, 99?
I thought this was another fantastic episode. I've been on the complete opposite of Kevin Falk here, but yes. I have thought this has been a pretty consistent show throughout pretty much the entire run, and this is no exception for me. I really love this episode a lot. I love how deep we went with the characters in this episode, with Bucky and especially Sam, in all honesty. I really loved what they did with the characters here in this episode. It was really fantastic, honestly.
Yeah, there's a lot of, the one thing I will say right off the bat about this episode is that we really do take the time to see a lot more of the deep interpersonal character stuff with everyone here. And that's great because for me, that's been the stuff I've been enjoying the most in the show. I like seeing the progression of Bucky and Sam's characters. And I like that was pretty much the main focus of this episode. But I guess we'll just dive into it right now. Now, the first thing to really talk about is the way this episode starts off. Not at all the way I thought it would, because, we start off after the end of last week's episode with that shocking moment with, Walker just decimating one of the flag smashers in broad daylight as unjustly as it could be, because obviously, Nico wasn't even responsible for what happened. That was all Carly, even if it wasn't intentional. Carly is the one who was responsible for Hoskins' death. Immediately we start off though, and already Bucky and Sam are trying to apprehend him here. They're trying to take the shield away, and very quickly we get this fight scene, and I think it's safe to say this is easily the best fight scene of the entire show, mainly because it had the most emotional stakes. I think the other fight scenes have been really impressive. What I really liked about this one is that there is a lot more of an emotional core to it. You want Sam and Bucky to succeed here. You want them to be able to subdue Walker, but you also know that Walker is kind of in a place where he doesn't really know how to be without that shield. He keeps saying throughout the scene, like, I am Captain America. That's who I am. And it feels so forceful because to him, that's a part of his identity now. He doesn't know who he is without that shield. Kind of similar to how Bucky didn't know how he was without being, Steve's most loyal in command. So it's a really good contrast between those two. What do you think of this opening of this fight scene? And what do you think of it starting off the episode? Because I don't think either of us expected for it to start this way.
Yeah, we literally pick right off where the last episode went, where the last episode ended. Like, we picked off right where it left off, and I was not expecting this fight scene to literally be, because I kind of saw like a trailer where it was like showing like footage from like these next 2 episodes and stuff like that, mostly from this one, and they did show this, like the confrontation. I was like, oh, this is probably gonna be the last scene in that episode, right? No,
I
it's
thought it would be like
the
the middle or like something like that, but no.
No, literally, it's the opening scene. I was like, oh shit, we're getting right into this. All right, let's go. And I thought it was a great fight scene. I enjoyed it a lot. It was very hard hitting, very emotional, like you said. It was really great. I loved it a lot. Just the brutality of it all was just really, really fantastic. I thought it was an absolutely incredible fight scene. I enjoyed it so much. I will probably agree with you. This is my favorite fight scene of the entire show so far. I really loved it a lot. I loved the camera work with it. It was just really well choreographed too. It was a fantastic scene. It really had like I said, a very hard hitting, brutal punch to it, and I really loved it a lot. It was a very fantastic fight scene in my opinion.
Yeah, the other thing that's really significant about this scene is that it ends not only with them getting back Cap's shield, but Sam's Falcon costume completely being destroyed. His wings are just fucked, and he does not really have any intention to build it back. And so I think that really ties nicely into Sam's arc in this episode and really this whole show, where he's kind of recognizing, like, yeah, I need to take this shield. This shield is for my use. This is something that Steve gave me. And while he's kind of been conflicted with whether or not he should be the one to take up the mantle, I think he's kind of realizing, like, he has to be the one at this point. This is his purpose. This is what he needs to do. And this is the only positive outcome for things to get back to the way they are, especially with the shield, now having such a negative, having such a negative image attached to it. And I think it was a really good way of showing that Sam is ridding himself of that Falcon costume. He doesn't really want to be associated with that anymore because he's finally ready to accept this job. It was a really good moment for Sam.
Yeah, I agree. Like, when what's the character's name? The one that he kind of runs into. He kind of works with him and stuff like that. I forget his name, but he was like, "You want your wings back?" And
Torres.
Yeah, Horace. He was like, "You want your wings back?" And he's like, "Nah, keep them." Like, I was like, "Oh shit!" He's really going into it. I'm really excited, honestly. Like, yes. I think this is a great direction for his character to go in. I really loved it a lot, honestly. I also, when Walker literally destroys him, rips him off, I was like, Jesus.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I really love that a lot too, and it just makes me even more excited to see where this character is going next, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing I really enjoyed, I think, about Sam's arc in this episode is that we really get to back to that, personal stuff with him, which is the stuff I've really enjoyed with his character. I feel like that's kind of been lacking in the last few episodes. He goes back, first of all, to Baltimore to visit Isaiah, and we get what I think is easily the best scene of the entire show so far. It's Isaiah and Sam talking, and finally Sam, Isaiah opens up to Sam a little bit more. He gets him to recognize, why this really upsetted him, because obviously, yes, he was thrown in jail, but Sam's trying to tell him, Steve never meant to throw you in jail. This wasn't what he wanted to do, but there's a little bit more to it besides that, because there had been other soldiers that were experimented on. And, you know, they were not thrown in jail like he was. And clearly the only reason for that was because of his race. And you can see that this had a really big effect on him. And again, we've talked about this the whole show, but I love the fact that Marvel is just diving headfirst into this. I feel like this is a conversation that they years ago would try to kind of steer away from, but here they're really diving headfirst into it. And I think it made the scene that much more impactful. I was actually having a conversation with my dad about this, like the other day. We were talking about this scene, and I told him I thought it was, you know, tied to Isaiah's race and things like that, and he wasn't so sure. And then the scene happened, and he was like, "Oh, okay, you were right." And I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty much where I thought they were going." The idea that, you know, the whole reason Sam looked at that shield and said it looks like it belongs to someone else, it's because he himself is at a crossroads where it's not just the fact that he didn't feel he was equipped, it's the fact that he's Black. And is America willing to accept a Captain America that is Black? And I think it's a really hard-hitting conversation, but I think they tackled it really well here. And I was really impressed by the way this scene played out. I think it's, for me, easily the best scene of the show so far.
Yeah, I will have to agree too. I really loved this scene a lot, like, because when Isaiah was first introduced, I was, you know, because I figured that's where this was going to go with this character. And
I was hoping we were going to see him again. They kept like showing him like previously.
Yeah, so it was nice. It was great to see him again, and for him and Sam to have this conversation. It was just really hard hitting and very heartbreaking too, because, you know, it's just, and I thought it was really great, honestly. And just, you know, I really loved this scene a lot. In all honesty, like, I just really thought they really handled it really well. Honestly, it was done in a way where, you know, it was really great, honestly. I really loved the scene a lot, and it just added more. Like, it was just great, honestly. I really loved it a lot.
Yeah, and especially when he talks about that, like, that girl that, or I believe it was like his wife or something that he wasn't able to see, and he kept sending letters.
It was his wife. It was his wife.
Yeah, and then she never got the letters, and she died, and they never told him. I mean, it makes you that much more angry that this happened to this character and that he had to go through what he did. It's a really great moment, because you get the sense that, two things. One, you get the sense that finally he's able to talk to someone about it, but he's also able to talk to someone who completely understands what he's going through. You know, exactly. Sam and Isaiah are very similar in that way. The difference is Isaiah is someone who's very disgruntled. He feels that there is no positive outcome for becoming Captain America, but Sam feels that there is a bit of hope. There's a glimmer of hope in there, and he can potentially, you know, restore things. He can potentially turn things around, and it's just a really great moment for Sam. I particularly love the line where Isaiah said that they will never let a Black man be Captain America, and even if they did, why would you want to be? I thought it was a really hard-hitting moment, and I love the way that whole conversation was done. And Clee Bennett, man, oh my God. I mean, he just killed it throughout this entire Carl Lumbly. Clee Bennett was Lamar Hoskins. Carl Lumbly just absolutely killed it throughout this entire scene. I loved what he ended up doing here. And again, it says a lot with how much they're able to accomplish in this scene. And Isaiah being a character that's only in 2 episodes, just how impactful it really was. I think when we really think about the show, for me at least, this and the end of last week's episode is what I'm going to be thinking of. And it just says a lot about what they were able to dive into here.
Yeah, I very much agree. Like, it was really fantastic, and like you said, that line, man, it stings, you know, so much. But like, you could tell Sam wants to be very hopeful about this. He wants to, he wants to find that optimism, you know, and I think it's really fantastic. I really like seeing that with this character. You know, he understands the struggles, and he knows what may come of this, but he really wants to be as hopeful as he can about this, and that's one of the things I think I really love about Sam a lot as a character.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that as a character, they've done such a good job of showing that he always has this optimism in him and he never lets anyone else try to tear it down, and he tries to stay as hopeful as he can, and he's realizing that he needs to do that. He needs to be hopeful. He needs to be the one that is this beacon of light for people, and it's just a really great arc to see. And seeing him, come back, I like that we actually did get to see him like fix the family boat, because I know a lot of people were complaining that they kind of got away from that. I was happy to see that, he came back there, he actually helped them fix the boat and things like that, and all the issues that they were having. It was a really good moment just getting to see him just, be with his sister, but also get assistance from Bucky. A really good moment in just getting to see these two who have been at odds throughout a lot of the show finally come to an understanding. And I think really kind of recognize that like they need each other. They really do kind of need each other throughout all of this. And I really liked getting to see that. And we'll get to Bucky in a little bit. There's a really good moment with him that I definitely do want to talk about, but I just really liked getting to see these two finally understand just how much they need each other within their lives. I thought was a really good moment overall.
Yeah, I really love the whole sequence where like they're fixing the boat, and like I just really love that a lot. Like it was just great to see these characters, because like you said, it really does show that these two characters really do need each other. I think it's really fantastic, how this scene was executed. Like it was really great. Like I really loved it a lot. It was it was just such a nice moment between like all the characters, honestly. Like I really loved it a lot. It was just very, very nice to see, in all honesty.
Yeah, I really liked getting to see everyone I like getting to see the two of them just out of costume, just being normal people. It's really good to see in the show, and I think it just added to how much I like both of those characters. But the one thing I do want to talk to you about, because I do want to hear your opinion on this, is that besides the Bucky and Sam stuff, the only other scene we get of Bucky is sort of this farewell to Zemo. We get this scene where he confronts Zemo, and it seems like he's going to shoot him, but he took all of the bullets out of the gun before he did. And it seems like he gives him like this proposition, where like he's going to have to go after Carly at some points. And the Dora Milaje, he hands them over, and it seems like Zemo's going back to prison. And here's my thing. I think Daniel Bruhl has been really great on this show. I think he's done some really good work. But if his entire character starts with him being let out of prison and then going back to prison, I just don't really understand why they needed to bring this character back. I think he really just needed to have that whole confrontation with him in prison, and I think that would have been enough, because as a whole, I have two issues with this. One, I feel like Zemo as a character just didn't really amount to much in terms of the plot overall. He just kind of gave them information about what happened. Two, the Dora Milaje feels very oversimplified here. I feel like what could have been a really good journey into seeing their pain and their loss feels much more like they're just here to save the day and capture Zemo and make him pay for his sins. And I don't know. I didn't really like this final scene. It felt very anticlimactic to me. Like, oh, that's the way it ends. Like he disappeared last week and then he's just gone. Like, I don't know. What did you think of that whole him being handed over to the Dora Milaje? Because I wasn't a huge fan of it.
I'll admit that was a bit anticlimactic. I do think there could have been maybe something done a bit better there, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was a bit anticlimactic. Yeah. I will admit. Probably my only issue with this episode is I do think that was kind of a bit anticlimactic. I hoped maybe something a little bit more could have been done, but so. But I thought the confrontation between Bucky and Zemo was pretty good. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it was good. I just feel like Zemo as a character needed more purpose in this show, and he just doesn't really have it.
Yeah, and and like you mentioned, Daniel Bruhl's really, really great in this role. So I just. It just, I'll admit it was a bit anticlimactic. Yeah. I do wish they could have done something maybe a bit better with it.
Yeah, especially if this is the last we see of that character, it's going to be disappointing that you bring this character back and he basically ends up in the exact same place he started. I just feel like there was more they could have done. And again, maybe it's because I'm looking at the work they're doing with Sam and Bucky, and they're doing such great work with those characters. That's why I'm having issues with Zemo. That's why I've also had issues with Sharon, which continues in this episode, unfortunately. But I just feel there's more they could be doing with this character. And if they gave him like additional episodes or they gave him more of a purpose, I think this could have been a really satisfying exit for him. But because the fact that they really haven't done much with him besides episode 3, I just was not that satisfied by this ending. If this is the ending of him, if he comes back next week, then great. I would love for him to do more. But if this is the actual ending to Zemo's character in this show, not satisfied at all. I don't think it was a very really that great of a farewell at all. So yeah, I did definitely have issues with that, but I do like what it leads to, because it leads to Bucky going to Sam, basically helping him out with the boat and things like that. And it also gets the two of them to have this conversation that I thought was really great. They almost have their own sort of therapy session. You know, Bucky's been getting this therapy, but we know it really hasn't been helping him out that much. And they finally have this therapy session of sorts where they talk about, you know, Sam talks about how he didn't, you know, feel right with the shield. And I like that Bucky admitted, like, yeah, I didn't understand your experience. I didn't understand what you went through. It was a really pivotal moment for Bucky, because we know how angered he was with Sam at first, but he's realizing there's a little bit more to it than just Sam not being able to take that shield. It's the fact that Sam is a black man and he was not sure if they would be willing to accept him as Captain America. And I like that Bucky really does understand that. I think it was a really great moment for him overall, and just really well written stuff there. I really liked this conversation that they had.
Yeah, and then I saw some people on like Twitter were like, "Oh, this is like really bad writing and stuff like that." I'm like, I don't see it. It was a really
I don't know
great
what they're talking about there. Like I saw what the reply was attached to, and it's like, well, what about Rhodey? And it's like, Rhodey is not Captain America. Like,
yeah, Rhodey is not Captain America. Like,
let's put this into perspective. Like, Captain America to them is like what the president is to us. Like that's what the thing is here. Like, Captain America is a symbol of hope. Captain America is someone that people want to accept. And in the same way that people were conflicted over, you know, which they should never have been, over whether or not people would accept a black president, people are unsure if they're going to accept a black Captain America. And so Rhodey, on the other hand, is Iron Man's assistant. He's not nearly as lauded as someone like Captain America, who, like I said, has been a beacon of hope for a while. So I did not understand that comparison at all. I did not understand what anyone was saying there. It just, I didn't get that. That was dumb.
But back to the scene, I did really think it was a really fantastic scene. I really love the dialogue between the two of them. Bucky finally coming to the realization that he understands why Sam didn't take the shield. It wasn't just because, I didn't want to take the mantle of Captain America. There was something much more deeper with it, and I think he finally understood that. I really loved that a lot, honestly. Like, he realizes that I was wrong about this. I am sorry. And it was really a great scene between the two of them, honestly. I really loved it a lot, honestly. It was a really fantastic. And
then diving further into Bucky, where he's talking about how, he's wanted to amend. And Sam tells him, no, you haven't amended. You've only avenged. And I think that's true. He really hasn't, he's apologized to people, but it's been very forceful. And I think what this is leading to is what we ultimately thought it was, where he is going to have to apologize to that one character whose name is escaping me, whose son he killed. I think that's what we really are leading to here. It's going to be a really great moment for Bucky, though, because it is going to give him full closure. His entire arc throughout this show is that he's really been wrestling with not being the Winter Soldier, with not being this assassin, with being James Bucky Barnes. And I like that Sam tells him,
but also having all these inner demons within inside him. And it's just been really fantastic, honestly.
Oh yeah. And I like that Sam tells him, the first step to doing that is to actually apologize and actually take accountability for what you did. And so I think that's a really great place to leave Bucky in this show. I'm very excited to see how that plays out. It's probably going to be a really heartbreaking scene to watch, but it's a really great moment for Bucky. And I like that they were able to have that conversation.
Same. It was really fantastic, in my opinion.
Yeah, so then we get essentially like a Rocky style training montage where Sam is like running. He's testing out the shield. He's getting a lot more fitter than he already was. And it was a really great moment because it's him finally trying to settle into this role. It's him no longer being conflicted. It's him now accepting that I have to do this. This is something that will be right for everyone. It doesn't matter. It has a mixed reception. This is something that I myself need to do. And I really liked getting to see this whole sequence. And Anthony Mackie is just such a badass in this scene when he's like running through the woods and things like that. People have been talking about how eventually Sam's going to be like the leader of the Avengers. And like, I saw it through this scene. I definitely see Sam being someone that, he is equipped to, fulfill that role. And I think we definitely do get to see that here. I really liked getting to see the way that whole sequence was done. I love getting to see Sam finally accept that role.
Yeah, and then the whole training sequence was really fantastic. It was like on some Rocky shit, but like superhero-fied. It was great. I loved it a lot. Like I just loved him, trying to catch the shield, the whole, like it was so great. I loved it a lot. But the one scene that really got to me was when he's holding the shield and his fucking nephew's touching it. I'm like, oh shit! Like it was so good. I loved it a lot. Like and like you said, Anthony Mackie is really, really great in this, and I really love this sequence a lot. Honestly, like it was just really fantastic. Like it just really shows that he's ready to take this mantle. He's ready, and he knows that he has to take this mantle. It was just such a awe-inspiring sequence, in my opinion. I loved it a lot.
And then especially, the moment I think everyone just geeked out is when he has that briefcase and he opens it up and we find there's a new suit from the Wakandans and we know what's in there. I need that suit. I need to see that suit in all its glory. I cannot wait to see.
Bro, I literally when I saw that suit and he was opening it up, I was like, no suit. I was losing my shit. I was like, oh shit. Oh man. Like it was great. I can't wait to see what it looks like in the finale. I'm very excited.
Yeah, and though I think a lot of things in the show have felt kind of rushed, I think it was definitely the right moment to wait for this suit until the final episode. I think it was a good moment to do that because now he's no longer the Falcon. He's ready to embrace his role as the new Captain America, and he's ready to do it. And it definitely sets him up well, especially with the way things end, which we will, of course, get into. But before we do that, I do want to talk about one other thing that really was kind of annoying me in this episode, the Flag Smashers. Let's talk about them, because last week I thought they did a really good job at starting to humanize them a bit, getting us to understand more of what they're fighting for, more of what their cause was about. And maybe this was just me, but this week it felt like all of that was thrown out the window. And now they're just full-on supervillains. And they have this plan where they're going to stop like the GRC from like approving something. I didn't know exactly what they wanted them to approve, but the reason I don't really like this is because it felt like last week they were trying to show, the Flag Smashers aren't bad. They're just misunderstood. They're not the real villains here. And we have all this interesting stuff going on with Walker, and we still have the Flag Smashers. And I'm starting to wonder if we even needed the Flag Smashers to be there in the first place, because Carly, especially as a character, is so confusing. Last week she's like, I'd never want to hurt you, Sam. I want to join forces with you. She then hires a fucking assassin to like kill him. Like, what is her angle here, Double Nine? Like, what is this character at this point? I don't know what they're doing with her.
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't. It's confusing, to be honest. It just really is.
Yeah.
Like I really don't like. I mean, I'm trying to understand where like they're trying to go with these characters.
Yeah.
Like I really am. I'm trying. Like and I
thought we finally did last week.
I don't know. Like, but. Yeah, like I said, I really loved them in last week's episode. I thought what they did with them was really great, and then I feel like we were taking 5 steps backwards again. Like we're back to where we were in like the beginning of the show.
Back to square one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back to there we go. Back to square one. Like I don't know, man. Like I just like now you just like I was starting to really care about these characters and really trying to really understanding where they were coming from and shit like that. And now we're just back to like, okay, hey, you remember these people? Hey, like it's almost like in those fucking cartoons where they're like, hey, you remember this? Like,
yep.
Like, oh man, like. Because we have all this other interesting shit going on with like Bucky, Sam, John Walker, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, you remember this?" Like, but like,
I don't know. I would have much rather had it where they were just misunderstood, and now maybe they have to join forces to take down Walker. I think that would be inherently more interesting. But it feels like we have all this interesting stuff going on with Walker. We don't really need the Flag Smashers anymore. They're just not necessary. It feels like they're just kind of here so they still have someone to fight, but they do still have someone to fight because of Walker. So I don't understand what the point of these characters are. I don't understand why they really need to be here. I just don't think the Flag Smashers overall work in this show. It was a really good concept, but I just don't think it really works. And I'm further confused because I don't know if you noticed this, but the person that summoned Batroc to kill Sam was Sharon. Sharon was the person that was on the phone with him. And so now I'm like, what is her purpose in this show? Like, what is she doing? I legit don't understand why Sharon Carter is still here. I don't understand what she's supposed to do. Last week, she's giving information to Sam. This week, she only has the scene. What is the point of her character in the show? Why is she here still? I know you don't really care, but it still really, like, annoys me.
And just like with all the other episodes, it really does not bother me that much. Like I don't know why. It doesn't. Like I honestly forget that she's in the show sometimes because like when they
me too, and I feel like that's a problem. Like we shouldn't forget she's in the show. She should be one of the most pivotal characters, and she's not. It's the same issue I have with Zemo. It's just you have these characters, you're bringing them back, and you're really not doing anything interesting with them. And Sharon especially, I mean, if she's not revealed to be the power broker, I don't know what else ends up happening. Like, if she's not the power broker, I don't know what else her purpose is in the show. But I feel like that's exactly where they're heading because I just don't see where else they could be going with her at this point.
Yeah. But
that continues to... What were we going to say?
I was gonna say, but I think we should also now get into what we haven't talked about yet, and that is stuff involving John Walker.
Yes, this was really good. I enjoyed, and this is why the Flag Smasher stuff pisses me off because we are getting such good stuff when it comes to Walker here. Because not only is he immediately like shunned from this title, like they tell him like you no longer are allowed to be Captain America. He's stripped of his role entirely, which is a really great arc for him because again, we remember that Walker's someone that was basically forced into this role to begin with, and now this is his only identity. Like this is the only thing he knows how to be. And you can see how not just angry he is, but really just how distraught he is. I think he legitimately feels like he let everyone down because he felt like this was his purpose. This is something that he could have done. He knew that he was never the guy to do this job, but he wanted to prove to himself that he was. And just Wyatt Russell, man, again, just such amazing acting from him in the show. I've seen a lot of people say this, and I do very strongly believe that he might be giving the best performance on this show right now. I think what he's been doing with this character, especially in the last few weeks, has been amazing. And especially this week, I mean, just seeing how upset he is with what ended up happening, but the fact that he just feels such rage towards others, it's just really great for Walker. And he is just such an amazing villain overall.
Oh yeah, I agree. Like Wyatt Russell is really, really fantastic in the show. And like, bro, I'm sorry, I have to point this out. But when he was fucking yelling, I heard so much of his fucking dad that's not even funny.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, you are really your father's son. But anyways, but yeah, he's really fantastic in this. I loved his performance here. And throughout the show too, but specifically here as well. Like it was just really fantastic, man. Like, and then the scene where he's going to what was his name? The Battlestar's family. And he and just lying straight to their faces about like catching his killer and shit. Like, dude, like it's just, man, like it's like he was really fantastic in this, and I enjoyed the stuff here that we got. Which also we got a cameo from Louis-Dreyfuss.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. Because they were speculating. So like they talked about early on in the show, I think it was like episode 3, there's going to be a big cameo in episode 5. A lot of people thought it was going to be a character that we knew. But what a lot of people are not bringing up is the fact that the creator of the show did say this is not a character we have already met. And so the reason why is because apparently she's supposed to be in Black Widow. That was supposed to be her original introduction, is in Black Widow. So this would have been a big cameo had Black Widow already come out, but COVID fucked everything up, and now this is just a random cameo. So this does have some legitimate significance to it. It's just the significance we haven't seen yet. So that's why it was like very random. But yeah, I like this a lot. I think it's cool that she's in the show now. I'm interested in seeing what she's really going to do, because she tells him like, oh, you took the serum, killing the Flag Smasher was the right thing to do. It seems like she's going to bring out this like inner rage in him and really get him to like explore that villainous role that I think we've been talking about throughout this entire show. So I'm very interested in seeing what they end up doing with her character. I mean, do I love the fact they introduced her in this episode? Not really. But I do think they're taking her in some really interesting directions. And I'm excited to see where she really does go, because I'm hearing moving forward, she's going to be a pretty prominent character within the MCU. So I think this is the beginning of a very dastardly villain. So I'm excited to see where she goes.
Well, yeah. Well, we can't really blame the fact that she was just randomly introduced into this. Of course. But yeah, I'm very curious too to see where this character is going. I really like the introduction here. I was not expecting Julie Louis-Dreyfuss. Like literally when she started speaking, I was like, "Is this who I think it is?" And then she took off the glasses. I was like, "Oh my god!" And yeah, I'm very curious to see where this character is going. Like, there's some really, really intriguing things that they could do with this character. In all honesty, like, I'm very, very excited, and and hopefully in the future, just like I could see this, like you said, going in a very devious, being a very devious villain. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see where she does go. But we do get 2 other scenes with Walker in this episode. He visits Hoskins' family, lies to them that the person that was killed, that the person he killed was the person that killed Hoskins. Obviously, that wasn't the case. I liked this scene because it gave us a chance to see Hoskins' parents. I didn't like the fact that their entire purpose is just to be like, oh, Hoskins loved you. He loved everything about you. And it's like, we already know this. I would have liked to get to know a little bit more about Hoskins than just have them, tell Walker what we basically already know. But I do like it because, again, it's fueling Walker to embrace that Captain America persona, even if that's not who he's really supposed to be.
Yeah, and it was just a really a great scene overall, in my opinion. Like, it's just fueling this character even more so. And then like it was really great in my opinion.
Yeah, and not only do we get that scene, we actually get a mid-credit scene for the first time in this show, and
which I did not know about. Which I did not know about, even when I was skipping through. Like I didn't even see it. So
I never skip through the credits. I never skip through the credits because I love the song too much.
Yeah, well, I'm like, all right, it's over. Let's get out.
Yeah, I never skip through the credits, but this is not a This is not a Monica shows up and there's Quicksilver moment. This is not that. This is a much bigger moment than that, where essentially we see Walker, not only is he building, not only is he doubling down on being Captain America, he's building a whole new shield from like scrap metal. Apparently he's like a welder now, which we never heard of until now. We didn't know that he was like welding and all this stuff, but he's building it with like all his war metals, and I am so excited to see where this is going to go, because this is definitely going to lead to a Sam versus Walker confrontation, where like you're going to see Sam in his Captain America suit, and then you're going to see Walker in whatever this fucking phony looking suit is that he's going to design. I'm so excited to see those two face off, and that's the thing. Like, I don't understand why we need the Flag Smasher stuff when we already have this really good buildup with Walker. I just don't think it's very necessary overall. I think this is what they needed to be focusing on the entire time. I think their entire focus needed to be on Walker's evolution from this very naive and very sort of very nervous hero to a full-fledged villain that is embracing a role that he should have never even had. So I really love where they're going with him.
I'm very excited to see where this is going to lead into next week's episode. Well, technically speaking, this week's episode, but you get the point. Like, I'm very excited. Like, dude, it's going down, man. I'm telling you, it's going down. Like what I said to him immediately when I called him after the episode. I was like, dude, it's going down. It's going down. And I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. I really hope this finale delivers, in all honesty, because like it has some big promises. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where it's really gonna go. So that's really everything to talk about plot-wise in this episode. That's really everything that goes down. Let's get further into the directing for this episode. I mean, again, we've talked about this every week, but I think once again, Kari Skogland did a really great job with directing this episode. What I think she did a especially good job with is taking a bit more time to slow down the plot and focus more on the interpersonal character dynamics. And it works really well. Like the moment where Sam is talking to Isaiah, it feels very satisfying when Bucky is talking to Sam about how he needs to make these amends. It's really satisfying. It's really well done directing in that way. And though I think, again, it's a little bit overstuffed at points, I think overall her directing was very solid here. It's clear she wanted to make more of a dialogue-driven episode, and I think it really did work as that. So I was very impressed by her directing in this episode.
Yeah, same. I think it's really fantastic here, and like you said, like very dialogue-driven, heavy, and stuff like that. It was really fantastic. Honestly, I really loved it a lot, and I just think she's been killing it. Honestly, with all these episodes, like she's been doing a really fantastic job.
Yeah, and we talked about how good the writing was in this episode, but seriously, I mean, just so many good conversations in this one. I think that overall, Delon Masson did a really good job, I think, with the writing in this episode for sure. He hasn't written any other episodes of this show, but he definitely did do a good job, especially with the Sam and Bucky of it all. I do think that the writing was lacking a bit for some of the side characters. Like I said, Zemo, I'm really struggling to see the point of why he was on this show. Same with Sharon, and then the Flag Smashers as well. Just not really doing a great job and not really aligning with what we got last week. It kind of felt like a bait and switch in a way that I didn't really like. But the writing for Sam and Bucky and Walker has been consistent for most of the show, and I think it still is very much here. So really great writing overall, especially with those few conversations that we talked about.
Yeah, the screenplay was on top of its game for this episode.
Yes.
It really was. I really loved it a lot. Like you said, like with the writing, with whether it be Sam, Bucky, Walker, it was really great. Honestly, like with all the conversations, the dialogue was really fantastic. I can't really praise the dialogue enough in this episode. Like I do think it's the strongest thing, in my opinion, with this episode. Honestly, I really, really loved it a lot. So really fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I think that the cinematography, we already talked about the big action set piece in the beginning, but just an amazing set piece overall, just where they were willing to go with it, the emotional connection you had to all the characters, and seeing Sam's wings break. I mean, just such an amazing shot. That alone, I think was great. And then when Walker's about to kill Sam and then Bucky jumps in, just an amazing action sequence overall. And then contrasting that with the more human landscapes that were in throughout the majority of this episode, I thought was a really good decision. And I really enjoyed the cinematography throughout it. And we've already talked about Henry Jackman's score as well, which is just, he's been killing it consistently. I like that this week we had actually a key change with the credits. I thought that was kind of cool. It's more heroic now, because it's Sam is now fully embracing this role. I liked the way that was done. I thought that was really cool for sure. So Henry Jackman, he's been killing it this entire show, but I think he was definitely on top of things this week for sure.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The music is really fantastic. Henry Jackman is one of my favorite composers, and he just really knows how to set the scenery really well with this music, and I really enjoyed it here in this episode.
Yeah, and the other thing we talked about, I think we talked about this, is that this was the longest episode of the show so far, and I think it absolutely needed to be. There was a lot of conversations that needed to happen. I think the Isaiah and Sam conversation would not have been nearly as effective if this episode wasn't as long. I think that the stuff with Bucky and Sam, that great conversation that they have, I don't think that would have been as effective. I think the opening action set piece, it definitely needed to be long, and I think they got a lot out of it. I just kind of wish, to be honest, that most of these episodes were around this length. I think it would have made for a more satisfying experience for myself personally if we actually had this much time every episode, because I think it just made the episode more satisfying overall in quite a few moments.
I really, I did think the length really worked for this episode. I thought it was really nicely paced, honestly. I do think, and really, we were spreading things out really well for this hour and 1 minute time, run time. I do think it worked really well, honestly. I hope maybe I cross my fingers and hope that this week, that this finale will be even longer than this episode. So I really thought the length was really good, and they did really well with the time that they had.
Yeah, for sure. Overall, like I said, I really did like this episode a lot. I think there was a lot of really good moments for Sam, Bucky, and Walker as characters, whether it was what we got with Sam finally fitting into that role and accepting that he needs to be Captain America, whether it was Bucky realizing that he actually does need to make amends to people, or whether it was Walker embracing a side that he really should not have. I think they did a really good job with that. The thing that holds this episode back for me is that there are just some plot points in this show with the direction they're heading that I'm honestly just questioning the point of. I don't understand Zemo's inclusion in the show. I don't understand why he needed to have such a pivotal role if all it was going to amount to was him just being sent back to jail. I don't think that was a very satisfying end for him at all. I'm struggling to understand the point of Sharon Carter's character on the show if she's not the power broker, and if she is, they really got to do a good job of making sense of that for sure. And like I said, the Flag Smashers, I just don't think they're necessary anymore. I don't think anything that they are doing in this finale is necessary. You have this whole great thing with them last week where it felt like we were finally starting to understand them. And here it just felt like back to basics with them. And it was not at all what I really wanted to see. But like I said, those hard hitting conversations, about race and about identity and about PTSD and things like that. That's something the show has done a remarkable job with, and they continue to do very well in this episode. And I was happy to see that was the focus of a lot of it. So overall, I definitely really did enjoy this episode. And I am going to give this week's episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode 5, Truth, a B.
Fantastic episode, in my opinion. I really loved this episode a lot. There was a lot of great things about it. I loved the dialogue. I loved a lot of the character stuff involving Bucky, Sam, and Walker. You know, I thought the Zemo thing was a little bit anticlimactic, and we're already back to basics with the fucking Flag Smasher stuff. But honestly, there's a lot of great things I think outweigh that stuff in my opinion, and I really love this episode a lot. It is definitely one of my favorite episodes of the whole show so far. I think it's really fantastic, honestly. It was just a great episode overall, and I'm going to give it an A-. Booyakasha.
All right. So with that, we are pretty much done reviewing this week's episode. But before we do that, it comes down to the best part of every single review, where you Double Nine are going to give you a chance to plug your socials, do your outro, all that kind of stuff, and express your grievances over Letterboxd and everything. So go ahead.
All right. Well, you can find me on the Twitters, the TikToks, and the YouTubes at FilmFan0599. You can find me.
I like that you got the order right. I like that you got the order right there.
You can find me on all of those. I'm usually goofing around on all of them. So, and of course, you can find me on the letterboxes at WWEFan0599 because Letterboxd won't let me change the username. And Kevin,
just like how society will not accept Sam as Captain America, and he's worried that it's going to accept him as Captain America, Letterboxd is unsure if it wants to accept you with a different username.
I will never get my justice.
Yeah, never going to happen. Never going to happen. It's very, very unfortunate for sure. It's an ongoing thread that I don't think is ever going to end. But either way, guys, for our review of this week's episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as always, comment down below. Let us know what you guys thought of this episode. Love to hear your thoughts on it. I can't believe next week is already the series finale. Very interesting seeing where the show is going to end up going. But that's really it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.